I'm gonna do my little YouTube crap, so just...
You do your YouTube crap.
Bear with me.
You do it.
What's up, guys? Kyle Smith, Arizona drummer here, and I'm here with Joe Hofer.
Yeah,
right?
It's Hofer.
Okay.
Hofer's 2 F's.
And he's Joe Hofer.
Hofer, yeah.
So there's me messing up. But anyway.
That's all good.
So Joe has been awesome. He's been going back and forth with me now for a few weeks just to get this awesome factory tour set up for us. And so today we're gonna go through, we'll see some B-roll, see some of the different products that are here, see how they get made. But also what's really important to talk about is the evolution of the company and how it has continually evolved, improved. And so with that though, we're just gonna start with a little kind of interview Q&A before we get started.
Okay, not a problem.
Yeah, and talk about where we're at. So I think the first thing is, how long have you been with DW?
I've been with Drum Workshop going on about 10 years.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I started in 2015, and it was right when Drum Workshop purchased all these brands. We had Gibraltar Hardware, we had Gretsch Drums, Latin Percussion, Toka, Kickport, down to Ovation Guitars.
Yeah.
But over the course of years, those brands have been sold off, and now today, it's DW, Slingerland, PDP, DWE.
Yeah.
So it's been pretty cool over those course of years. Been with the company, like I said, for going almost 10 years.
Yeah.
Moved around, so I got a pretty good perspective of how the company operates, and love getting to talk about drums and showing people around, man. Who wouldn't want to get paid to talk about drums?
Yeah.
But
absolutely.
Yeah, but it's also opened doors and really cool relationships, and I'm grateful every day.
Yeah.
Counting every day as a blessing, so.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So speaking of, DWE.
DWE.
Pretty new. Slingerland coming back.
Slingerland.
I was just at NAMM this year, so I got to play on some DWE kits, but then also saw the Radio King snare coming back.
Yeah.
So have you been involved in some of that stuff, and kind of what can you share with us?
No, not so much. I haven't been involved in it besides just sharing the brief information that we're allowed to share.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, Slingerland got launched this year at NAMM, which was really cool to see everyone's reaction, especially since the word on the street that we've owned it. Everyone's been calling and asking about it, and it's just, there's certain things we can't say, and there's certain things we just don't know because things are talked about behind closed doors. But with this year being as exciting as it is, with Slingerland being brought out, kits are going to be coming out fairly soon. Can't say exactly when. Snares are shipping out, so if you have an order in with your dealer, they should be hitting that shop pretty soon.
That's awesome.
From my understanding, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, everything's been cool.
And I got to get my hands on one of the new snares with
What'd you think?
The blue burst finish, I think.
Oh, dude, that's, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's just warm. That's the best, full body. It's got a lot of tone. I mean, obviously it was pre-tuned. I couldn't get in there and mess around with it, but it sounded incredible. And it was cool because at NAMM, there was the setup with the old antique bass drums and the Gene Krupa, the pictures and stuff. It was just, Buddy Rich was in there. It was just really cool to see the lineage of everything. And kind of speaking of that, we started this tour with looking at some of the kits in the front, which you'll see the B-roll on that. And we looked at the evolution between the 80s, the 90s, and up to today.
Right.
What do you think are some of the things that makes DW's placing evolution front of mind? And what do you think are some of the kind of cornerstones that they're looking at to continue to improve on what is already a pretty great product?
Well, I mean, it starts with John Good. John is our wood whisperer.
Yeah.
He studies wood. He figures out what sounds good, what tones sound good, and also with the grain orientation. So the company's been pretty innovative over the course of years, as you've seen, from not having our own shell shop and getting our shells from Keller, and then eventually getting our own shop where we're producing our own plywood, which I'm going to show you guys, and then producing them into actual round drums. But yeah, it's just always, it's innovation. There's always going to be something new. You guys probably seen at NAMM this year, the kit that Chad Wackerman played on, the True Sonic, which has the
it's aluminum.
It's got a ply of aluminum in there. John, dude, that guy is brilliant. That guy's brilliant, and I look up to that guy. I have nothing but mad respect.
Absolutely.
And then Don is super innovative with our R&D team, and he's got his grandson Connor, who's the DW brand manager now.
Great.
He's got visions, and I could tell you, I saw some pretty cool new stuff this week. And I think there's some stuff that people are going to be looking forward to seeing once we announce that.
Yeah. We might talk about it, but I can't tell you.
Yeah.
But with that, I did get to see the True Sonic kit. And I think I don't think there's another manufacturer out there that's blending metal and wood into the shells of a drum, maybe in a snare, but into the shells of a drum.
Yeah.
And I got to hear the tone. And it has kind of like the dryness of the aluminum.
But it's still musical, though.
Yeah, it's super warm.
Yeah.
That's the thing. I think if I could put anything into words for DW, it would be warmth and tone. Mm-hmm. We walked in and we just tapped the heads on some of these drums.
How much they sing.
Yeah, it just resonates, like the whole room. And again, I think this room's probably treated, but even still, it just resonated. The whole, it was the very first thing we said, and the first word that came to mind for me was just the warmth of it.
Yeah.
And I think that speaks back to what you're talking about, the DW brand, and like what really DW is trying to put out into the industry. And in your opinion, your words, what do you think it is that draws so many professionals to DW drums, DW hardware, whatever it is, that kind of affiliation that they...
I think what puts us out there with those guys is our ability to fulfill their needs and wants. These guys have a certain tone they're looking for. We do things certain ways that make those dreams come true, I could say, with the different types of woods that we use, even down to the cosmetic look of a drum. We got all these beautiful exotic woods as an option, and then we have such a rad lacquer department that can do all these cool burst and fades, and even do like these really cool chameleon looking looks. Like we did this kit for Eric Moore, and he called it the root beer kit, and that kit, I got to see that kit in the factory, and you get at it at a certain angle, and it had like this purple sheen to it. It's like, well, you trip out. Yeah. It's like, holy cow, did I just see what I just thought I saw? So, yeah, it's just to say, man, it's just fulfill everyone's needs, from cosmetics to the tone of the drums to the functionality of each and every piece of hardware that we have. Mm-hmm. I think that's what draws everybody to us.
Absolutely. I think that DW is really bold with the designs. I was thinking about it and did a little bit of research before coming, and I'm like, there's just not, some other manufacturers are either recently started or are starting to do some of the exotic veneers and finishes, but DW I feel like was one of the first, not just to do the veneer, but then also to use different tone woods for the actual shell construction.
Yeah.
And I know obviously John is going to be a huge reason for that, but what do you think it was for DW that said, hey, we're going to be the ones that come out and do this? We believe in kind of shaking up what's out there and showing that like cherry can be a diverse wood that people are going to use, or what Tasmanian, I can't remember what it's called, but the Tasmanian wood, or even the limited Australia kits where it was pulled from I think it was Australia.
The Tasmanian, the Australian Tasmanian wood, but this kit that we're sitting in front of is the Romanian River Oak kit, the 1,500-year-old wood that we did the Timeless Kimber, and we did it for Neil's kit, and I have a small little slither of that piece. I got one of the guys in Shell Shop to give me, and I cherish it to this day. Every time I look at it, I'm like, dude, I got a piece of DW hardware or a piece of history and his kit.
1,500-year-old. I didn't even realize it was that old.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys seen the story. There's a whole movie about it. It's a long story short. This wood came from Romania. They found it in this river that they were trenching.
I do remember that.
Yeah, and then somebody told John about it, and John got as much as he could. John, I think, got as much as he could, and we produced the Timeless Kimber kits. I think it was like 150 kits and I think 150 snares to 200 snares, if I recall right. But
well, that's one of the great things too, is like, although obviously pulling in different wood types, DW is very conscious of the environmental impact and where the wood's coming from, how to source it, but then also to kind of give back.
Exactly. You know what, and that's cool that you mentioned that, because we use our most go-to wood is maple, and we get that from northern Michigan. And the gentleman that we get it from, Dodd Sadler, has this resort of maple trees where they harvest them once the tree has lived its life, and they actually replenish. They don't just cut down these trees and leave the land bare. They regrow. It's like out here in California that we grow our strawberries. When plant the seed, grows the strawberry, plant the new seed. Exactly. So. Yeah, it's just we look at it in that way, being environmental friendly, I would say.
Yeah.
Eco-friendly.
I think that's important because, you know, on the surface, it's like, well, gosh, they're using all these different wood types, these different trees. But it's like, no, it's front of mind. It's if you're going to do it. And then also, like you mentioned, like this was rotting in, you know, in water. Like, let's salvage it. Let's turn it into something beautiful.
Yeah.
And like, there's no denying that is a beautiful drum
No,
set.
it isn't. Yeah.
And sorry, go ahead.
No, you're cool. And I was going to mention also, like, for those that do not know much about this kit, but you know, also the designs on it, those are wood inlaid. Those those aren't painted on. We have a company in Indiana that we send the materials to, and they have a laser machine that cuts it all out, and they fit it in there like puzzle pieces.
That's incredible.
And then they ship us back the veneer, and then we glue it on the shells.
That's incredible.
Yeah, right?
You know, we looked at the snare drums, same thing, I'm assuming, right? Veneers on like the Queen.
Yeah. Same guys that do our Icon series did the veneers on the R40 kit.
Yeah, that's incredible.
It is.
Yeah. So I think that's a kind of a good segue too, though. So we're in this room, right? We're looking at a Queen snare drum, a Rush snare drum, Dave Grohl. You could, I mean, this sounds city, but again, Dave Grohl's enough. You could just say the name.
Yeah.
We got
Mick Fleetwood.
Mick Fleetwood.
Yeah, Rumors.
The one right about, I can't think of
Jim Keltner.
Jim Keltner. Yeah. Thank you.
Jim Keltner.
So I mean, we have Rush, we've got Terry Bozzio, we've got...
And then the other one's Hal Blaine for the Wrecking Crew.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We got the Terry Bozzio Black Page snare, we've got a Nickelback kind of piece over here. I just went to the Nothing More show, so these are all DW artists, and again, it spreads the gamut though, right?
Yeah.
Like you could have somebody like me who's a YouTube artist, or you could have Rush. And what's great about that for me, and especially, and I'm gonna kind of pivot a little bit, but especially when you think about lines like PDP and DW Design.
Yeah.
So I had a DW Design Series kit for a little while before I did the Performance and things like that. And what's great about those kits are not only are they affordable, but they sound insanely good.
Well, it's because we use the same material as we do on Collector Series, which is that North American Hardwood Maple.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what was great too is, so at NAMM, Eric Moore put one of the brand.
Oh yeah, the center stage kit. Yeah. I remember I'll quote him. He said, "I am literally beating the shit out of these."
Yeah.
And he was.
He was.
And they were up there taking them, dude, and they sounded killer.
Oh yeah, I was there in the audience.
Yeah.
And when he came down, I mean, he's dripping sweat. He was just ripping into it. And gives me a hug, which again, Eric, I love you.
Aw, dude.
The sweat's okay.
Yeah.
But you talk about center stage up to collectors. Even, I mean, obviously this is top of line, but the quality's never getting missed. We actually talked when I first came in. My live kit is I have the 9,000 pedals, 9,000 hi-hat, but all of the stands are 3,000 series stands.
Dude, because they're just as good.
They're just as good.
In my opinion, I believe in them.
Yeah, and the funny thing is like you hear the number 3,000, 5,000, 9,000, your mind goes to 9,000 is the best, and there are features on 9,000 that are undeniable, but on the new version of 3000, they're double braced. There's also single braced for those people who want it lighter. There's the 6000, which is the ultimate ultralight.
Right.
But then you have the same kind of gyro tilter. You have the lock. We'll show a little bit of that, but you have the locking mechanisms where you can actually see the numbers of where you're locking. They have the memory locks on the boom. So the quick release cymbal toppers. I mean, these are on, I don't want to say entry-level stands, but affordable stands. I was able to outfit my whole kit with DW's 3000 stands. I set it up. For those of you who are on my Patreon, you saw the setup that I did. And again, it's set up now. I don't ever have to worry about it again. All I have to do is slide it into place, put the cymbals on, I can go.
Dude, that's awesome.
And to me, that speaks volumes. Because again, it doesn't matter what series you get. It doesn't matter. I mean, I used a 3000 double pedal forever, and it was great. Like there was Yeah, dude, you can do whatever.
They're tanks, and you know, thanks to the R&D crew, you got guys like Rich Secra, you know, you got the dudes like Connor Lombardi, you got Chris. All those guys in R&D that are the mad scientists behind all this cool hardware that they develop.
So that actually brings me to another thought. So I've toured Europe, toured the United States.
Lucky.
Yeah. We always joke that like, you know, all the shows I've done, I think I've played my own drum set like twice. Okay. So I'm usually backlining somebody else's kit, or the the backline company's providing something. Cool. And I will say 9 times out of 10, it's a DW kit. Could be design. Usually it's a Collector Series kit.
Yeah.
And usually it's DW hardware.
Right.
What do you think it is about DW kits and hardware that backline companies around the world, again, not just United States, around the world, trust? That DW is not only going to support whatever artist it is, but it's going to hold up time and time and time again.
Right. It's I think it's our slogan also too, it's like we're just the drummer's choice.
Yeah.
And yeah, I deal in customer service, I deal with backline companies, and they do request a lot of our hardware, a lot of our drums. It's just dependable, reliable hardware, and the drums sing beautifully that a lot of guys are very useful and comfortable to. And I mean, there are other great drum companies out there that do good at what they do, but DW, we do what we do. And I think that's just who we are.
One of the things that I think aligns, so my slogan for my Arizona Drummer brand is professionalism, consistency, and I can't remember the other one. So just kidding. But professionalism and consistency, right?
Okay.
Like that's important. If you show up, you're professional.
Right.
You're here to do the job, but most importantly, you're consistent. I'm gonna play for you. It's going to be consistent behavior or consistent results, and I think that aligns with DW. It's the professional drummer's choice.
Yeah.
Obviously any drummer, but the professional drummer, that's the first thing they're gonna look at is DW hardware, DW drums, because I think that's the brand that's been put out there, is you can trust us to be consistent.
Yeah.
But also hardware-wise, my studio kit is one company, my live kit is DW, and I do that on purpose because, I wanna find what fits best for me as a drummer.
Right, you gotta experiment and see what tools work for you.
Exactly, and to me, it is two things that stand out, and that I think it's gonna tie into DW, which is ease of use for the drummer and the consistency. Is it reliable? Can I set it up and know that I don't have to worry?
Right.
And we talked about this. I had a DW performance kit.
Which are made here.
Yeah, which are made here.
In Oxnard.
And I recorded the Zombies album Heart of Darkness on that kit with a collector's aluminum snare.
Ooh.
So those of you who follow me and know about Zombies, that was the drum set I used on that album. And that was I got the best compliment from that sound engineer. He's pretty prominent in Arizona.
Okay.
And he said, I don't know what you did to those drums, but they sound better than any drum set I've ever played or I've ever tracked.
Right.
And what was interesting was I only had to tune it once for the whole session.
Dude.
Now granted, we knocked it out in a day and a half, but the whole session got it tuned, held tune, and I'm beating the shit out of those drums. Held the tune the whole time, sounded consistent, which again, when you're recording, that's the most important thing. The tones are consistent.
Right.
Never had to go back.
That's awesome.
And tighten it up.
That's awesome.
Some of that comes down to, which I'm getting to my point, but the innovation of ease of use, which you got the True Pitch.
The True Pitch 30s, and then we have the True Pitch 50s.
Yeah, 50s.
Yeah, True Pitch 50s came out in 2015.
And what do you think led to that evolution? Again, we're talking a lot about that.
It's crazy because John and even our R&D guys and Don, they get these ideas that just click in their heads just by looking at certain things, like our mag throw off.
Yeah.
It's magnet, right? John was playing with his wristwatch and his band was held with a magnet. And the idea clicked in his head to use a magnet on the mag throw off. But with the True Pitch 30s, I mean the standard industry 1224 pitch, they're very coarse threads.
Yeah.
So when you're tuning, they're bouncing all over the place. But with these True Pitch tension rods, you get that nice wind up tone, kind of like as a sense of tuning a guitar.
Yeah.
So it's not all jumpy over the place, so you can get it just right. And John thought about these and just nailed it, and it's been everyone's fave, and we get nothing but compliments.
Yeah.
I can't say any more.
Well,
less.
I think the other point to that though, we got the True Pitch that helps get it tuned.
Right.
But then you're also timbre matched.
Timbre match, yeah, that's another huge thing that we're known for, our collector series. When you place your order with your dealer, we get the order here, and then we go up into our bird nest, which is John Good's loft, where they're organized, the shells.
Yeah.
And they go up there and they timbre match them, making sure they all sing in sync, da 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 da. And then they get grouped together on a drum rack, and then they cruise around the factory through all the different processes from, getting finish wrap done, and then getting drilled out or burying edges, or even going and seeing Louis Garcia and getting a really cool paint job, like a graphic done. But yeah, dude, it's for a custom shop. Yeah. And it's just,
That's actually a good point. So I want to talk about that, but before I do, what I will say is, back to that point of the timbre matching happens before anything else, right? So
it does.
The shells are coming off,
right?
And they're making sure before your kit gets assembled, before anything happens, are these shells compatible? No, I shouldn't say this because I don't know, but I don't believe any other manufacturer is doing that.
I haven't heard of any other manufacturer that does it. The other cool thing that we do, because when we pull these shells, we don't know what note they are.
Yeah.
We don't know. There's no way for us to know unless, we're that good. But no, we are. No. So we tap the shell and, make sure that the intervals all sing together. And then once everything gets done and drilled out, because, we're adding material, taking material away.
Of course.
Then we get to the last final stage where I'll show you, where we tap the shell and we figure out what the actual note value is for that specific drum.
Yeah.
Which I always say it's the cherry on top of the ice cream sundae as far as information goes.
Yeah.
Because when you tune a drum, you're tuning to the tone of what you're hearing when you tap that shell. And as John Good would say, you match the heads, and then from the batter head, you either tune up a third up or a third down, depending on the bow out or the boom out,
Yeah.
So, but yeah, all of this timbre matching, that's the thing that that's the other thing we're known for.
Yeah.
It's just, we want to make sure that the drums are going to sing musically and everyone's going to be happy.
Well, I think that's a good point. And then I'll go back to the custom piece.
Yeah.
But harmony is the word that comes to mind, and balance, which is, the attention to detail in getting the tone out of the wood, which again, that feels like the genesis, right? Of let's get the most tone out of the wood that we're using. And let's make sure that a set of drums complement each other.
Right.
And anybody who's played a DW kit, if you haven't, you'll see inside the drum, there's the tone, the timbre is in there, whatever the tone
whatever
is.
it is.
And what's great about that is you can tune to it or tune in relation to it, and again, you achieve the harmony, you achieve the balance. The tone will give back to you.
Yeah.
But that segues into the custom shop.
Yeah.
Because, before DW really became, I don't want to say more accessible, but today it's more accessible than ever. You can go to Sweetwater and get a collector's series kit right now.
Yeah.
And obviously those are finished play kits. They're they're already kind of, I don't want to say they're pre-made, but there is a manufacturing process where you can get them.
Yeah, I mean within the common sizes and common finishes, Sweetwater, Civil Fusion, Guitar Center, you name all those other dealers, they do have inventory of DW Collector's Series, Performance and Design Series. Some have exotic woods, some have finished ply, some have satin oils, some have lacquer custom, some have lacquer specialty. It's all depending on which dealer you talk to at the time and at the right moment, But if there's something you're not seeing on the sales floor, you can place an order for what you're wanting within the menu that we offer.
Speaking of 23-inch kick drums.
23-inch kick drum.
This is a 23, right?
Yeah. We're the only manufacturer that offers a 23-inch kick. Yeah. And thanks to Neil, being good friends with John.
But so to your point, at its core, DW was how do we service the drummer, right? How do we get the drummer what they need? How do we get what's in their head underneath the sticks and behind the pedals? And so it's, I don't want to say started as a custom company, but that was really a focal point,
right?
And still is. But it's the accessibility of now. It's I remember when DW first started putting collector series kits out into kind of the retail stores, but then performance came shortly after, and then of course design came about 10 years ago probably. So what do you think led to just let's make these drums more accessible? Not just the top professionals in the industry should play them, everybody should get a chance to play these awesome drums.
Well, with those other lines, I mean, we're just trying to offer, the budget friendly, everyone's got a budget.
Yeah.
Design series is perfect for anyone that's starting off, that wants that same quality that DW offers. Because again, we use that North American hardwood maple that we use on collector series. Design series are made overseas. They are very slim as far as options in the finishes, but then the selection gets broader when you get into the performance series. More olive cart, more sizes, more finishes.
Build whatever size kit you want. And now there's the birch limited edition too.
Yeah, the birch for performance series, and we did a cherry.
Yeah,
we
I
did
saw
cherry.
it at Guitar Center. With that kind of sparkle glitter finish.
Yeah, I think it was the Diamond Nebula finish.
I
love that finish.
Yeah, it's pretty sick.
Yeah, it's pretty sick. I mean, and then also with not just with the affordability of these drums, but also the construction and the tonality with the shells, with performance being HVLT, and then you got collector series, you have the SSC configurations with the HVLT, VLT Plus, X shells, you name it, and it's all to produce lower timbre drums. Because you want, because if you get standard collector series shells with the edge rings too, you're gonna get that nice even frequencies of your high, mids, and lows. But when you want to get a louder drum shell and a lower timbre, that's when we started experimenting with the wood grains, and then also making the shell thinner. Because the thinner the shell, the louder the drum is going to be. So.
And just for those who maybe aren't aware, when we're talking about VLT and things like that, it's the actual orientation of the grain. So vertical, maybe horizontal, maybe a combination of diagonal. And what that's doing is essentially either creating or removing tension for the drum. So that way, as you again kind of build the shell, you're preconceiving the type of tension, tone, volume you're going to get. So again, we're not talking custom just the finish or the hardware color or the gasket colors or the badges. We're talking down to how the shell is constructed. That is something. There are some companies out there that do hybrid shells. There's some companies out there that you can talk about the number of plies you want, or maybe, hey, I want some mahogany and gum, or maple and gum, or birch, or whatever. Here it's yes, you can do that, but also how is the grain oriented, and just to really build your own custom sound. I mean, it's truly, you can do whatever you want to do. We probably have time for like 2 more questions.
Sure.
And then we can get into the fun and go into the candy factory. See what we got.
Get in everyone's way.
Exactly. We'll just go. Just move. I want to see drums. So 2 more questions. What I'll say is, going back to hardware for a second.
Okay.
The pedals specifically. Modern drummers out there doing their interviews, doing the gear rundowns. I would say, and this is me being maybe a little gracious, but I would say 8 out of 10 of these drummers are using DW 9,000 pedals or 5,000 pedals. DW was known for pedals originally. Back in the 80s, I think, is the 5,000 came out?
Yeah, 5,000s were the first series. They were based off of the old Camco pedals.
What do you think it is about DW pedals? Again, this is speaking as somebody who I have DW 9000 XFs, the extended footboard on my studio kit, the 2 singles. I have a DW 9000 double, just standard on my live kit, and then I've got, of course, the 9000 hi-hats. But what do you think it is about the pedal specifically? Because I think you talk to anybody in the game, the first thing they say is, how does pedal X compare to the 9000? Or how does the 9000 compare to direct drive or whatever it is? Obviously we have machine as well, but 9000's really got that kind of special reputation.
Yeah, 9000 has a pretty broad reputation for the diversity of being able to make all the adjustments on the cam. Because with the 5000 series, you either have the turbo or the accelerator cam, where the 9000 series or the MFG series, like your MCD or your MDD pedals, you have the ability to get into this in between, or either the turbo or the accelerator position. It gives you that diversity to be able to make those adjustments. 5000 series, I don't know, myself, I use a 5000 series. It's been the industry go-to pedal. I remember hearing stories John would say about giving Chad Wackerman, a pedal and tell him, hey, break this thing, and tell me how long it took you to break it, and then John and Don would use that information to improve the hardware. I mean, you can see the the elevation, like how the pedal evolved from when it first came out in the early 80s to today in 2005,
And we kind of did that walk through, and then actually in front I showed showcase of all the different pedals, like the Camco and all the original.
Oh yeah, that's a cool case.
Yeah, and so like consistency of this message is evolution. We're talking about the fact that, and I think it's really important because I'm going to share a little bit of a story in a second, but I think in order to be a successful just manufacturer in this space, especially in the world today, you have to be able to challenge yourself and look back and say, okay, this is great, but how can I improve? How can I do better? And I think DW has proven time and time again.
Yeah, I mean, I can to add to that. It starts to what I'm sitting on today, the trap throne case. This guy right here. This is it. This is what Don and John worked on late nights. They had a trap throne case that was just one size, and drummers are not all the same height. We're either short or we're tall. You
We're
know?
all short.
Yeah. We're fun size.
Yeah.
But anywho, so Don saw this and was like, you know what? Let's make this collapsible because, you know, posture is a very important thing. So Don and John built these guys, and this actually helped us establish our relationship with Guitar Center.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, because at the time we were in Santa Monica.
Yeah.
And Guitar Center, the very first one is on Sunset Boulevard across the 405 freeway. So Don would go in there and pitch his cell with the trap throne case, and here we are today. And Guitar Center is down the street, their corporate office in Westlake Village, about 20 minutes away from here. So yeah, it's just cool how our company evolved as well as like Guitar Center, one of our big retailers in the U.S.
Absolutely. And last funny story, and I'll get to my last question, but the first DW kit I ever played on was at that Guitar Center. And it was a DW Collector's. I can't remember, I think it was just a classic maple, maybe SSC, and similar to that configuration, 2 up, 2 down. And I remember I just sat down behind it and I was like, I don't feel like I should be able to do this.
Am I doing something right here?
And then I just, because they are beautiful, right? So I gotta beat this up. And I remember just hitting it. And again, this is no shade to Guitar Center, but a lot of the times the demo kits, they're beat up because people are out there having fun and trying them out. But again, pristine. With the smooth DW
smooth heads
on it,
no
hitting, no issues. It was just perfect.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I gotta bite the bullet and look more into this. This was almost 20 years ago. But the point is, like, the consistency even back then. So that brings me to the last question. We've talked about where DW's come from till now. Obviously the acquisition of Roland, you know, LP's in the mix, PDP, a lot of really great things that are going on.
Yeah, Slingerland and DWE as well.
Thank you.
Yeah.
What's next that you can share? I know there's something.
What's next? Oh my gosh. I mean, as far as cool finishes, I don't know. John's probably got something up his sleeve that I'll hear about later down the road. I used to hear more about the cooler stuff when I was in purchasing, but now that's a little more closed doors that I'm behind. But as far as I know, only time could tell. Yeah. And a good way to find out also, as I always say, check out dwdrums.com.
Absolutely.
Because everything gets put on there as well. Yeah. And if you have any questions too, you know, people can hit us up, customer service, info@dwdrums.com, and any questions we're happy to answer.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I will link everything down below. So DW Drums website, their Instagram, YouTube, all that stuff, so you can stay up to date on what they're doing.
Yeah.
And again, just like Joe said, feel free to reach out to them if you have questions. You can reach out to me if you have questions. And I can get you guys hooked up together. Is there anything that you'd like to close up with these guys before we do the tour?
Well, I hope you guys enjoy the walkthrough and get to learn some cool stuff, because I don't know if you guys ever seen that show, How It's Made.
Yeah.
Well, this is the drummer version.
Yeah.
So,
and we're gonna get in a lot of people's way right now.
We are.
Intentionally.
And thanks you guys for watching, of course, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to be part of your drum channel, and hope people love this.
Well, I'm sure they will, and thank you for making the time.
Oh, my pleasure.
I'm sitting next to Neil Peart's drum set.
I
think I need to thank you.
Yeah.
All right, well, we'll close up. Let's get into the tour.
Yeah.
But thank you for your time.
My pleasure, man.